What's up, guys? Welcome back. This time, we're in my house, in my living room as we do this video. I wanted to kind of talk about all the stuff that's happening today and what it means for the decisions that were made in regards to some of the issues that we're having inside the UFC with some of the run-ins with the police. Right? We saw Luis Peña get cut from the UFC today because of his interactions with his girlfriend, and rightfully so. And Luis is a guy that I know, but when he's having these issues, I feel like the right decision was made. That leads us to my friend, John Jones. Today we learned that Coach Winklejohn has now thrown Jones off the team, said that he cannot train there. He has to prove himself before he can go back into his gym to maybe start to pursue things together again, maybe start to accomplish some of the things that they accomplished before together. Coach Winklejohn was very open with his idea that Jones may win the UFC heavyweight title. There's a lot of people that do feel he has the skill and ability to do that. Coach Winklejohn, and having daughters himself, feels like it is more important to him to step away, and that's honorable. But to me, it tells me, and I listened to the audio of the security guard from the hotel calling today, and it just seems so scary because you could tell the situation was so intense, and this guy did a great job of trying to explain what was happening without assuming. Because I think that's one of the biggest issues, right? People hear these things and you start to immediately want to assume, especially a person that sees the guy as maybe an enemy. The one thing that at this point Jones will never get is the benefit of the doubt, because we've done that before. Coach Winklejohn's decisions today show what type of man that he is, willing to step away from the money in order to stand on the grounds of what he believes. The next thing for me, though, is how serious must it be for a guy that's walked out there in front of thousands and thousands of people with you after the indiscretions to finally have enough and walk away? Because these guys stood by you, the steroid suspensions, the wreck in the vehicle wreck in New York earlier. There are so many times at which this team has had your back, and I know for myself, Bob Cook, Javier Mendez, the level to which you have to go to in order to make these people say, I got to take a step back, is really severe. And you would think that for a young man like this, that would be a wake-up call, because those are your allies, your greatest allies. But even your greatest allies start to turn their back, because everybody has a line, and you can go up to that line, but eventually you got to pull yourself back, or you start to lose the people that mean the most to you. And it seems like right now, that's what's starting to happen with Jones. Now, Coach did leave some room to mend fences, saying that if he does certain things, he can come back to the gym and he can work his way back, mainly the alcohol. It's hard, right? Because when you have these occurrences happening and you point to something over and over again, at a point you have to realize that that thing does not bode well with you. You got to step away from it. You got to put it in the rear view. And that seems like what John is going to do right now. Now, he's said this time and time again, that he'd make some changes. But as you get older, and you haven't made those changes, it becomes your normal behavior. Now, I'm not in the business of assumptions. I don't know what he did. One thing that he did try to clarify today on Twitter was that he didn't hit his fiance. When you listen to the police call, it sounded like the security guards and the police report think that he hit his fiance. I think the scariest thing is what Coach Wink said again today. It makes me sad that his daughters said call the police. That's a thing that saddens you. But all those little things, you got to think that it doesn't matter who you are, what type of person you are. Those things have to really make you look within yourself and make a decision. Because no one's perfect. But at a point, you got to make a decision. For not only you, for your daughters, for your fiance, for your family, for everything. And I think right now is that time. But the scariest part about this is, in these moments when people who have issues start to lose the closest allies, they can go one of two ways. One way, they can go to the top and get this shit together, or they can actually just plummet. So I think it's going to be very important for the people that are closest to Jones to really try to help him decide and figure how he's going to go forward. Because this is that slippery slope. Now, watching his explanations on Twitter, I never for the life of me understand the explanations and the answers. I just don't know who guides him in those ways. It's time for wholesale changes. Because now you're looking at Winkle John's gone, Jackson's gone, Malky Kawa's gone, Abraham Kawa's gone. All of his greatest allies are starting to fall off one by one. So when you're left alone, how do you answer? And you start to hear the voices chirping, all the doubt, the questions as to how you ended up there. How do you deal with that? For people that have issues, they don't normally deal with it very well. So this is a big moment for John Jones. Big moment for Luis Peña, too. Luis Peña had a ton of chances. Luis Peña was here at AKA with us. We gave him every opportunity we could possibly give him to try and help him get to where he was going. And you know what? He made good on a lot of that inside the octagon. Went to American Top Team and seemed to be doing well. Got a girlfriend. But now that relationship that started so beautifully has turned into his undoing, because now he's out of the octagon. So what next for Luis? What next for him? So I think a lot of these fighters now have a lot of answers and to come up with, and a lot of questions that they have to ask themselves. And it does not seem like these are going to be easy decisions to be made. But in terms of what Coach Winklejohn did today, man, good for you. Good for you. Because at some point, somebody got to make this dude really look within himself. As I said on my show on ESPN, we didn't do it. We didn't beat him. We didn't force him to have to ask those hard questions. Maybe now, having to look and see that your closest allies are starting to say, I've had enough. Maybe now that'll make you start to answer those questions. You know, we don't kick people when they're down. You know, all the build-up when we said the nasty things about each other, talked about each other, that's in the build. That's whenever this guy's he's on his game, he's getting ready to fight. When a man's down, you don't kick him. You wait until he's back on his feet. And right now, he's the furthest thing from his feet. This is a bad place for John Jones, especially as the allies start to drop off. I'm very interested to see what comes of this. I'm very interested to see what a 34-year-old Jones does opposed to a 26-year-old Jones. I'm interested to see what happens to Luis Peña. These guys are playing a dangerous game. And it seems as though right now they're losing. And in a world where all that behavior is completely unacceptable, you deserve to lose. So, big moment in these two men's careers. I wonder how they bounce back from them. You can have all the talent in the world, and we know that Jones does. But if you can't get those ducks in a row, none of that even matters. So for me, to this guy, we'll never be friends. But human to human, you gotta get your shit right. And show some remorse. Show some remorse. Before you hit that send button on these tweets, you gotta think about what you're saying, because it just doesn't seem as though, it seems as though you tell yourself so many lies that you start to believe them. Don't lie to yourself. Surround yourself with people that are gonna tell you the truth, and then find some answers, because otherwise it's gonna be done. And it's close. It's close to actually being done. It's close to being done. So, from day one, great fighter, horrible person. And the actions that are starting to show themselves today, fuck everything else. Steroids, the partying, all that other shit, fighting with the stripper, all that. Forget all that. When you start doing that to the family, and then the kids gotta watch that, shame on you, my man. Get that shit right, dog. Seriously, man to man. Get that shit right.